Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience as we waited for a couple extra people to join the webinar. We're going to get started now. So hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Banks, and I will be your host for today's webinar, Solving Issues with Greater IT Visibility. We are from Centrion, an industry leader in commercial open source solutions for enterprise IT. I will be your host for today's session, so should you require any assistance, please let me know through the chat panel on the right side of your screen. We will begin our 30-minute webinar with a brief introduction, followed by a short demo. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please ask in the brief question panel, and we will resolve either during the webinar, at the end of the webinar during our question and answer presentation, or we'll also follow up with you by email if we didn't have the time to address it during our time. Included on this webinar today will be my colleague, Rory McKay, our resident monitoring expert, who will show you some tips and tricks automate, and better secure our surroundings. And it's the IT operations teams that are really holding that knowledge and the tools to get this done. Organizations are going through waves of digital transformations, but they can't always be perfect. On average, IDC forecasted the company spent $1.3 trillion on digital transformation in 2018. But when polled about those same projects, half of all organizations didn't quite meet their digital transformation goals, with 50 to 70% cited from McKinsey from the C-suite saying that those goals weren't being hit. We know that those are really large investments. We're talking about $1.3 trillion here. And that money isn't badly spent. It just means that it didn't quite happen as set out in the beginning. So we're not accomplished perfectly. If that 70% from McKinsey is accurate, we are looking at about $900 billion that wasn't spent perfectly according to plan. We're going to give you a few ideas today on how you can come up with this, but McKinsey specifically found that there are three main reasons why this was happening and why some of these goals just weren't being hit. And I'm sure this isn't going to be a surprise to everyone, but it's not all of our fault. There were three reasons, and it was a lack of management involvement, a lack of cross-functional collaboration, and a lack of accountable productivity. So the first, lack of management involvement and insight. They found that this reason was interrupting digital transformation because that management insight is difficult to find when our management doesn't have access to that perfect amount of data. How can you be expected to really achieve the best results in your projects if you don't have all of that data visible? And that data sometimes needs to be in that perfect format. We all have different ways of digesting information and taking that information in to learn from that. So sometimes we just need to play around with the way that that data is given and make sure that it's given to everyone within the organization. That way, your management can make those informed decisions with better insight. The next reason was lack of cross-functional collaboration. You need the minds of the many to succeed in any project, and that's not a secret to any of us. Whenever we're working on large projects like digital transformations, we're going to have a larger team that we depend on, and the majority of those are people like in IT operations. They need access to the same information, but perhaps with different areas of focus. So perhaps that lack of cross-functional collaboration that we're experiencing is because we're seeing siloed views, and it's breaking up that information and causing different perspectives. But with easy access to that IT data, that same team can possibly work together better, and then they can come to the table with the same perspectives. We'll understand the same scope requirements and priorities. And that might be that recipe for an easy collaboration. The last reason McKinsey stated was lack of accountable productivity. And without access to that same data, operations, and status, how can we expect our team to work proactively and productively? Looking closer at these cross-functional teams, they're made up of the IT teams, with infrastructure and operations as a major focus. So perhaps those teams now can work proactively to see clear insights with potential issues. We know that area really well. We work specifically in IT operations and with IT service teams. And we hear the problems that they state on a daily basis, and we help them fix those problems. The problems that these people are facing is they're working with too many tools. It's hard to actually correlate and unify those views with that data. It's not a surprise to us because over 65% of our customers were using 10 plus monitoring tools to cover their entire infrastructure scope. It wastes time to manually monitor all of them separately. They say we need a more flexible and open system to centralize monitoring across legacy systems and modern technology. And it's because they're losing sight of those key indicators with the wrong views. And they also say we spend too much time reacting and repairing instead of managing service levels. Yet again, not a surprise. We've all encountered these issues because more than half of the unplanned IT disruptions service teams are reacting to are caused by integration, configuration, or ultimately human errors. With all this in mind, I'm going to pass the mic along to my colleague Rory, who can walk us through some of the opportunities you can use to solve or prevent your IT issues with greater visibility.
Thanks, Amanda. My name is Rory Mackay. I'm a pre-sales engineer with Centrion, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the reasons why. And this is really what it comes down to. We're exploring all these different ideas, and we need to ask the question, why is this happening? Why are we spending so much money and having so much of it miss the mark? Why are we having management, improper collaboration, siloed views, and why is it so difficult to accomplish some of the tasks regarding or surrounding digital transformation? So it comes down to one of the major components is your network infrastructure or your topology, because gone are the days when you would have the computer network consisting of a bunch of computers connected to a printer on the same sort of floor in a building. We've now expanded that to more devices, more parts of more parts required for end users, more types of deployments and topology structures. So you no longer have stuff on-prem only. You have them spanning multiple buildings, multiple geographical locations. You now have cloud usage, which is only going to increase, and we also have hybrid technologies and deployments to kind of bridge that gap. One of the other things that is increasing by volume every day is the amount of departments and the amount of utility that we need with different tools regarding IT automation, AI ops, ITSM. They all have an integral role in the success of the business. So whether you're using Puppet, Chef, Splunk, Elastic, ServiceNow, or any of the others, they all rely on infrastructure, and the proper success of that infrastructure determines their success. A recent study using a fairly decent sample size polled a lot of IT managers and administrators, and they asked them what are some of the common issues that they're experiencing or facing in their networks. And a lot of it comes back to visibility. A significant portion fear a lack of cloud visibility is obscuring security threats, while others have visibility problems, and that's just their current infrastructure and their current visibility tools that they're using so many of lead to application or network performance issues. We also have a complete lack of visibility into certain areas of the network or pockets where, we've all probably found ourselves saying, if I just had known this, or if I was monitoring that in this part of our, VoIP communication system, I would have been able to have greater success and less outages. Everyone typically agrees that, whether out of all the people polled, whether they had those other previous issues, everyone came to the consensus that visibility is an important factor. Whether it's security or network and application performance monitoring and what have you, it is a key role, and it plays a direct role, or there is a direct link between comprehensive network visibility and business value. So what does that mean for the end user? All those problems that have arisen, how do we approach this? And really the way to look at it is by using sort of a pyramid structure. You need alerts, alarms, and notifications. And then, of course, above and beyond that, you need to get over this siloed sort of department structure and have free viewing and sharing of information across all departments, because you have many decision makers now that are involved in the success and the successful operations of the business. At one time, alerts and alarms were enough for those simple networks. But now that everything is more diverse and more complicated, and more of the business is intertwined in those IT operations, you have DevOps and infrastructure managers, operations managers, COOs, CTOs, and CEOs. They all rely on this information. And finally, you need to be able to plan, because the success of a network is not just on the current state, but you do need to be able to look for the future. So if you include these business metrics and these analytics on the data that you've collected, because if you're collecting the data, it's only as good as what it's used for. To have these databases with just sitting there with historical values and not being able to extract information from that to plan your future is really just a waste of the storage space. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take a few moments and I'm going to quickly go over some key areas that we've found that customers really, sort of features that the customers really enjoy about Centrion. So this is our demo platform, and it's located at demo.centrion.com, and you can log in. I encourage you to do so. If you want to play around with the software, you can take a look and see what else we have to offer. And the login is admin, and the password is Centrion. So I mentioned that networks, used to kind of be quite simple, and at one time, you would download your network monitoring software and you would install the platform and get it up and running, and you would configure all your alerts. And that used to be enough, right? And what you would see here is just your standard sort of page of alerts. And for someone like myself or the IT admins out there, this is fine, because we can look at this page and we can, prioritize what's critical, what needs to be dealt, and acknowledge and start working on the issues. However, times have changed, and because of that complexity and because of the amount of people involved, we need to share this information, and we need to make it more human readable, as you would say. To someone who isn't technically minded and more business oriented, this is just a wall of text. It's the equivalent of logging into a forum and seeing someone just post a very long answer to your question that you may have asked, why is my Windows service not working properly, or what have you, and it looks like they just kept typing forever, right? So in answer to that problem and that issue, we have developed our visibility aspect quite extensively. So when you log into Centurion, you'll come to this is our landing page. And a quick view, you can see the status of the system with regard to critical issues and warning issues in the different states and what's okay. And you also have the ability to fully customize this area. And this is what really makes the system kind of sing to our users, because this is driven by you, and that's what you need. You need a solution that will give you the information that you and your company needs to make those accurate, timely decisions and also plan for the future. So all of these are customizable based on widgets. And these widgets, as you can see here, this is the global infrastructure availability. So looking at the organization, based on an access list, you can control information to this or control who sees what. And you could also set a timer so it would, if you wanted this in a knock, you could have it, cycle through the relevant screens. And no matter who you are, whether you're an IT admin or a business exec or a manager or whomever, the convenience and the ease of seeing what is wrong and just simply clicking on it, as I can do here, I know within seconds, rather than having to troubleshoot and look at or read through a page of errors, I know what the devices, which ones they are, and what is experiencing which issue. Now, this information can be displayed in a variety of different ways and a variety of different graphs. And one of the other things you can do, if you really don't want to get super complicated, you could just have a simple, a simple graph or a simple sort of picture that has all the firewalls and all the routers and all the statuses. Now, another thing that you can do, which a lot of customers love, is you can map out the entire sort of journey or the entire infrastructure related to certain processes, both, in this case, we have Acme Corp. In Acme Corp, we have the business front end and all the associated departments or processes that are successful in making this this really survive, or actually making it a success, right? So we have business apps, back office, and hybrid infrastructure. Now, again, no matter who I am, I can log in and I can see, obviously, red is bad and green is good. I know there's 193 carts right now, but there appears to be a problem with the eStore. So if I click on the eStore, this takes me to the journey map. And this is another illustration that you can use, and this will allow you to quickly get at the root of a problem. If you notice, for example, maybe there aren't a lot of orders coming in. There seems to be some kind of a delay in the processing as, compared to yesterday. And we look at the authentication. There's a problem with the domain controller. There appears to be some issues with the mail servers, and then also during the buying process, some of the secure data. So I don't need to get on the phone and make a call. I can already understand, if I'm, say, a manager, I know what's happening, and I can see that there's an issue here. And what that does is that saves time for everybody, not just the managers at hand, or even the service desk analyst, because they can quickly get to the root of the problem as well, and they can see what's important, and it allows you to prioritize. Also, we have the ability to map geographical locations, which is a very handy tool. So as you can see here, you may want to take note of all your remote offices, and perhaps you're running everything through an MPLS link to various locations, and you want to monitor those links. You want to ensure that they're always up and they're always readily available, because if, say, there's a processing center down here and it's being routed back through Paris, you need to know that that link is always up and readily available. Now, we also mentioned earlier about the tools and whatnot, different ITSM and ITOM and IT Ops and what have you. So having the ability to collect all this data and all these alerts allows you to provide for your ERP status and SLA compliance. And what's really nice about this is we've customized this dashboard so you can see how, let's say, the data and the access times for this Citrix website, how it's responding to the hits and the average time it takes. Another thing that's really nice here is we're now looking at, and this is the epitome of what we've talked about today with the complexity of networks and the availability of tools. This information here is a quick way to look at all of the compiled information so that you ensure that you're seeing all the areas of the network and you have that visibility. And one final thing that people really enjoy about the program, the software, is they like to look at the mail server analysis because our industry, it thrives on quick and timely mail services. And the really nice thing about it is you can customize your graphs so that it not only gives you current usage statistics, real time, and the current values, whether you're meeting your SLAs or not, but it also allows you, as part of our predictive analytics, to look at the usage, and based on the current usage, it will approximate how long it is till the hard drive needs to, you need to increase the amount of memory available on each server, or if you needed to maybe back up everything and dump it and just free up the whole drive. It allows an aspect of capacity planning that a lot of people really enjoy because it makes it so easy for an IT admin to look at the network and say, okay, well, these keep filling up really, really fast, so we need to add more drives. The server looks like it's lagging and the access time is taking a lot longer, so maybe I need to replace an interface. So it starts to give you that ability to answer those questions or delve a little deeper or dive deeper into those things, those hang-ups with visibility that you may not have been able to do before. And finally, something else I wanted to talk about was the relationship mapping. So we have the ability to, let's see, let me expand that, move this over here. Okay, so you can map out your network by using the map with the diagram, and you can have the geographical locations and what have you. But you can also make a tree so that, oh, I keep clicking twice, I have a trigger finger there. So you can also make a tree, so you can essentially, if there is an issue with the mail service, you can quickly expand the tree and see the dependencies, and then you can go even further and see exactly what is affected and how, to what degree this will have on the rest of your network. It comes in very handy when you're trying to prioritize, and it makes it very quick to solve what is most important. And of course, what monitoring system wouldn't be complete without PDF reports? And we have the ability to do a variety of different reports. There's pre-customized reports, and you can generate your own. Some really nice ones I like to look at is like the storage capacities, or I'll just download one quickly here. Let's look at the cluster. Oh, I see Amanda's looking at her watch. I need to hurry up here. That won't be too much longer, I promise. Okay, so just looking quickly, we can look at, how are we going to maintain our SLAs, and what does it look like going forward? How much storage are we using? What is the usage? You can compare the months. You can also even look at, simple things. We have a report that allows you to plan in your data centers based on electricity cost. You can see whether it's going up or down. Overall usage statistics that come in really handy. And yes, now we'll just go back here. So, putting it all together, key takeaways, the main importance of today and what we really wanted to get across to everyone is that, the issues with visibility, they aren't going away, right? It's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're all of a sudden going to have a complete amazing map of your network, or things are going to change. It's networks are gaining in complexity, and alerts and email notifications are no longer enough. At one time, yes, they were fine, but because of the multitude and the things that happen and the issues, it's time to start seeing what's happening, to really see in the darkest corners of the network that you have. We need end-to-end visibility so that you can address all aspects of people, processes, technology, and things, and you can share that information. We need that cross-functional collaboration, and it promotes richer information. It'll promote change. Sharing of information promotes positive change. Controlled access and clear visibility to the users, of course, right? You want to give the appropriate people the right action and ability to detect, respond, and resolve, or even prevent issues. And you need to focus on the internal and external experiences of your users through perfect visibility. And then you can really make that DX transformation or the digital transformation come to life. So where do you go from here? I'm not really, I don't want you to consider this a homework assignment, but because it's just more of how do we move forward? How do you move forward to get what you need out of your monitoring system, right? And the first thing is to identify the key people involved in the infrastructure, which some of you probably already know. It may be yourself as well. You may work in a team. Then find those visibility gaps in your infrastructure. So take a look at things that maybe you found yourself in the past thinking, wow, I really wish that I had more metrics on our database servers. I really wish I knew, how many people were accessing this through our VPN, or I wish I knew, how many people were, coming through and using our firewalls, like even simple things like that. Or, just any type of area where you wish you had more knowledge in the past. And then finally, and most importantly, get in touch with us, and then we can explore, various avenues and how to solve them. Now I'm going to hand it back to Amanda for questions.
Thank you, Rory. And thank you everyone for the time today. We have had a couple questions come in throughout the webinar, but we are at the top of the hour, so we're only going to answer probably 2. If you have any additional questions, please send them in now. And what we can always do if we don't get to them is follow up with you by email. So first question, Rory, can this software be meshed into my cloud environment easily?
Yes, we support a variety of deployments, cloud, on-prem and hybrid, so that's not an issue. As long as we have access to, you have access to install in the cloud, it's fine.
Okay, and we'll just ask one more question. If I'm using Nagios, how easy is it to port over into Centrion?
It's quite easy. We have a documentation on our website which goes through the whole process of how to configure the new environment and port the old data, because some of you may have historical data for that monitoring platform you want to move into Centrion. So it's quite documented in the steps.
Okay, awesome. So that is all the time that we have for today. If any of you did not get your questions asked, I'm so sorry, but we will follow up with you by email with those, and Rory will answer them that way when we send out your recording. So thank you everyone again for attending today. Please get in touch with us to learn more, and we would love to hear from you. We will follow up today's webinar by email with a recording of today's session. Other than that, thank you so much everyone for attending.
Thank you very much everyone. Have a great day.